Hello and welcome to Season 2 of the Odd Couple Podcast. Happy New Year, guys. This is Siddharth here.
I'm Arjun. Happy New Year.
I'm Dr. Sheesh, and for those of you who thought that the last year was the end of us, no, we are back and we are better.
And condolences to you guys.
Correct.
You have to bear with us for yet another year. So today we have with us Mr. Rudra Krishna, a lawyer, writer, volunteer of the Blue Cross of India for more than 3 decades, a vegan for almost 10 years. His writings include published poems, songs, as well as 2 published novels, The Onus of Karma and Brahma Towers. His 3rd novel, Pondicherry Lodge, is due to be published soon. He's been a great friend and partner in crime with Dr. Sheesh and myself since, 5th grade in school?
Yeah, 5th standard.
Yeah. That's a whole another episode by itself. So welcome Rudra Krishna, or as we friends call him, Rudy, to the Odd Couple Podcast, Season 2, Episode 1. Welcome, buddy.
Hi guys.
What's up, Rudy? What's up, man? After 9th grade, I think this is like we're back on the same bench now, you know?
Yeah, it's been a while.
So the reason why you're here today, Rudy, is with the big question, which is, about, you are one of the people I knew who was a vegetarian at home, right? I used to come to your house.
Very specifically at home, yes.
That's why I said that. Because, I remember we used to bunk our whole entrance exam coaching. And
No, Amma, we went every day. Ashish is lying over here if you're listening to us.
yeah, Dad.
We didn't waste your money.
No, we did.
Dude, you guys used to come and wake me up
Yes,
in the
we used
mornings.
And you were one of the few vegetarians I knew, purely vegetarian at home. But cut to 20 years later, where we are now, you're pro-vegan. And your work has been with animals, protecting animals. You work with the Blue Cross. So you're one of the few animal activists who I know personally, first degree, as well as you're a pro-vegan person. And so that intrigued me because, I'm going through this whole hypocritical battle which I go through, which is, on one side, I always feel like the animal cruelty is like crazy, and on the other hand, I'm a hardcore non-vegetarian. I think you're here to spread light on that.
Well, no, see, so I'll tell you, I was brought up a vegetarian because I'm a Hindu, Brahmin, Madras boy. My folks were involved with animal welfare, but it was welfare. It wasn't animal rights. That's a big difference right there. It was taking care of the animals that we so easily are using in our day-to-day lives. I went vegetarian actually in my first year of college when I joined law college. In Paris, I was near the slaughterhouses. I got to see a lot more than I found digestible, and the switch became quite easy. But I still didn't make the connection between things like dairy, eggs, and animal cruelty till much later. I'm ashamed to say till 2010, in fact. Look, the thing is, I realize now when I'm looking at my son's education that we are actually being brainwashed into thinking animals are ours to use. I'll give you an example. My son is taught that we are given milk by the cow and we are given eggs by the chicken. They don't give us shit. We enslave them and we take it away. If we told the kids that, they would have a very different take on the whole thing from a young age. But I don't know if it's a conscious decision taken by the various educational systems around the world, or just how it's easier for a parent to explain it to a kid. But for whatever reason, we're brought up to think about animals as something that we get to use as we like. All veganism is to me, it's different things to different people, but to me it's a realization I came to that animals are not ours to use. They have lives that are of value to themselves, just like our lives are of value to us, no matter how useless someone else might think my life is. And there's a lot of those people around too. To me, my life is a value and I want to enjoy it, I want to cherish it. And I think it's fairly obvious that it's the same for every other animal. So it was just an easy transition, I guess.
You're right when you say that, but then, there are a lot of if I can go down to the core aspect of it and just say that there are a lot of religions who consider that the animal doesn't have a soul or a being or understanding. And if you go back to the old ways, which was, we are hunters and we evolved from animals, right? And meat was our staple. When you don't get things from the ground, you turn to animals, right? So, that's fair, right? We all need to survive. So it's survival of the fittest, right?
We are right that we are, in fact, there's conclusive science to show that we are humans, as in this very different animal from the rest of the animals here, because we started cooking meat. And we were cooking meat because we were one of the weakest omnivores in the jungle. And the only way we got food was to,
Probably we were scavengers.
yeah, we were scavengers, and the only safe way to eat that old meat was to cook it. And that's how we evolved to bridge the gap between primate we were before and what we are today. But that being said, that was still us living in the wild. And yeah, so I was making this point to Sidhu before. So I'm, one of the reasons I would call myself a slightly different vegan is because, for instance, if you told me you were going to go into the jungle, shoot a wild animal and cook it, I would not do it myself because I don't want to be killing anybody and cooking them. But I wouldn't find that to be morally difficult to accept.
Why? Because you went in and you found it, you hunted it down.
No, it's not that, because it's very much a part of life in the wild. There are wild animals, and the balance of the ecosystem in the wild is maintained by predators eating the prey.
Correct. So it's still nature. You're still part of the cycle, and
Yeah, but what we do is not that. In the forest, yes.
Trying to understand your your way of thought.
So what Rudy is trying to say is that if it is for survival, it's perfectly fine.
That's not even what I'm trying to say. But what we do is keep our animals as slaves. They are in cages from birth.
No. I meant about the point of people going to a forest hunting for food.
That I leave to the same way. I have no problem with some people believing in God, some people believing in rum. It's, I leave that to the conscience of the individual. Like I said, it's not something I would do. It's something I can accept.
So, Rudy, what you're trying to say is, okay, you understand the system of hunting in terms of sustenance, but the whole husbandry business to feed billions of people and rearing animals for slaughter and food, the process is wrong? Or is it just the concept of eating meat on a mass scale?
So I don't like using words like right and wrong.
Okay.
I mean, I do, of course. I have a 6-year-old boy. I have to all the time. But when we're talking seriously, among adults, it's not a term I prefer using. But let me put it this way. So very simply, what I'm trying to say is we shouldn't think we have the right to use anyone else. Now, just like I had this thing that I said a long time ago, I said, what you eat is your personal choice. Who you eat is not. And it's very simply that. I mean, they are different beings, but that doesn't make them any less sentient than us.
So that comes from my next question. You have an issue of taking a life for food.
No, I have an issue of using a life.
Fair enough. So you have an issue of using a life for food.
For anything.
For anything. But then what about farming, which is plants? I mean, even having a paddy field or a wheat and other things. I mean, it is a living thing too.
No, so I never said living thing. I said sentient being. But coming to your, even if let's
but
assume...
even sentience.
No.
Yeah.
Let's assume that plants, that we are now in the presence of plant rights activists. Okay, let's just assume for a second. Even if you did care about the plants, it takes far more plants to feed the animals that need to be fattened up for you to eat than it does for me to eat my plants.
660 gallons of water just for a quarter pounder burger, not a whole animal.
You're absolutely right.
But that burger is so yummy. That is where I'm having that conundrum, because like Dr. Sheesh and also like Rudra over here, I love my burgers and at the same time I love my animals. Yes. And yes, I'm a hardcore hypocrite, and that's where the whole struggle is. And I had tweeted the other day that I might probably experiment of going vegan for a year. And I started reading up on the materials, but there seems to be some crazy vegans out there.
Yeah.
And I find they're very, very preachy for some odd reason, unlike a vegetarian, for example. I don't know why vegans probably get a bad rap.
Look, we've actually spoken about this many times over drinks when you've asked me why I'm different from the other vegans. So here's the way I look at it, okay? So a lot of these people that you consider preachy and annoying, and I'll agree, a lot of them are preachy and annoying. They very much like you guys or like me were enjoying the meat of animals, enjoying the products of animals, wearing their leather shoes and all that stuff. And then one day they realized the horror that they had been participating in.
Yeah.
I believe that can kind of sometimes cause a bit of a hysterical reaction in terms of, what the hell am I doing? And I don't know. It's me trying to be charitable to them. Maybe that's the answer. I don't know.
I know a lot of pseudo vegans also, like guys who are vegans for the sake of being vegans, and then just talk about it, and then after 6 months they're like, yeah, I did it, man, I just can't do it anymore. So
it's the most common thing you hear. In fact, I know a buttload of people who went vegan, and 8 months later, they'll be like, no, I lost so much weight. I found I couldn't be vegan anymore. And, I'm a 100-kilo vegan and I've never had trouble losing weight. So.
See, I'll tell you something. We're coming from a land of vegetarians, and we've sustained ourselves on just vegetarian diet for a very, very long time. And I don't think there's any sensible truth behind the whole fact of that they can't be vegan because it's not medically liable. So, okay, that's a different thing. But Rudy, earlier on in our conversation, you mentioned something about there's a difference between welfare and rights to animals. Can you just elaborate a little bit on that? Because I don't understand what that means.
So you guys mentioned that I'm a member of the Blue Cross.
Yes, yeah.
Now, while most of us in the Blue Cross do believe in the concept of animal rights, what the Blue Cross does is animal welfare. We rescue animals in distress. We help them get better. If they are animals that could end up on a plate or in a butcher shop, we keep them there till they die. If they're animals like dogs and cats that we're reasonably certain most people will not, hunt and kill and, eat, we let them back out where they are once they are better. It's purely taking care of animals.
Okay.
Animal rights, on the other hand, is the whole process of fighting for personhood for animals. Fighting for us not being able to use them as property. Fighting for us not being able to wear them as shoes and, as sweaters.
Rudy, again, what are the different types of veganism? Because there's a broad classification. I mean, like...
No, there isn't really.
Oh, is there?
No, there isn't really. So veganism is the complete disavowal of using any sort of animal product. Whether it's to be eaten or whether it's to be worn or whether it's as moisturizer or makeup, whatever. Like I get my deodorants that aren't tested on animals. When I was a smoker, I found out which cigarette companies don't do animal testing and was only buying. That's why I was on Charms, in case you guys remember. It was because they're the only guys in India who weren't testing on animals.
We just thought you were very poor, that's all.
Yeah. Fair enough. But so there's vegan and then there's plant-based eating. Plant-based eating are generally athletes who eat only vegan food, but wear the leather and everything, and their cheat meals are generally meat and beef and stuff. They're only vegan in diet and only for the performance of their sport.
Well, what about those guys who only eat stuff which drop from the tree and everything?
Oh, those are fruitarians. Those aren't vegans.
Oh, they're not vegan. Oh, they're fruitarians. Okay.
They're even more morally open, if you want to call it that. I don't want to judge anyone, dude. But yeah.
Judge. Go on, judge.
They, like Sidhu and you pointed out about the killing of plants.
Yep.
They agree with that aspect too. So they only eat food that has fallen from the tree or ripe fruits that need to, be taken away from the tree in order for the tree to continue growing and not rot on the tree, that kind of thing. Those are fruitarians.
You see, Rudy, like a couple of months back, right, I got into this argument with, Vijay, no?
Yeah.
So he's new turned vegan.
Oh, yeah?
And we were conversing about this thing, and I told him, I'm all for the animal slaughter is all wrong stuff, but I'm still that hypocrite and I accept who I am, which is, I really like my meat. And as we were talking, it all came down to the fact of just our human mentality and where we are today in our big economic bubble. Now, you're talking about something, if you ask me, it is aspirational, right? You're actually doing it. For me, it's aspirational. And I look at it as something, okay, which maybe probably the whole world should aspire to be. But having said that, the biggest argument which you will come across is always that we have like a $53 billion dairy industry, which is just in America, right? So you've got like hundreds of billions of dollars, which is just there in just the dairy industry.
It's a fact that Indian agriculturists, in fact, depend very heavily on the dairy.
Yeah, for cow's milk, we're one of the biggest producers of cow's milk. A2 milk especially, we are the largest producers of A2 milk. And then when it comes to meat production, again, the whole world depends on it. So it's a huge business. How the hell are you going to convert everybody? So you're just sitting in a world at a certain point and saying that we need to convert because it's the right thing. You're a bit too early was what I was telling him.
You're absolutely right about the various economies that survive on slavery.
Correct. Well put. Well put. Very well put. Yes.
Yeah, but I don't think the whole thing is that to convert and be a vegan evangelist.
Since you brought it up, I'm not a vegan evangelist only because I don't have the stomach for any more conversations about it.
Aha.
It's not because I don't want to be a vegan evangelist. It troubles me deeply when I see someone else partaking of cheese, of the tair, of the paneer, of the meat, whatever it is. I realized at some point that when I talk to them about it, it becomes aggression. And that's never the right way to reach someone.
Absolutely right, Rudy. And that's why I'm trying to say that, see, I can have my point of view. You can always have your point of view. We never have to agree. And I've told Sid this. We can agree to disagree. This is the world which we live in. Whether we like it or we don't like it, it is democratic. And in democracy, everybody has a point of view. But having said that, on a larger scale, if like what you said, what we're doing to our animals is just for milk, which we absolutely don't really require it in our daily consumption, right? We have other alternative sources. So my point being that we need to be a little bit more reflective about where the world is heading towards. And we need to start looking at what we're doing to animals is slavery, like what you said, and rape, right? We are inoculating these animals, these chickens, the cows, and then keeping them in their reproductive scale all through their life so that they keep churning out milk, which is wrong. And I know it's cruelty. I feel it in every bone of me that it's cruelty, but the hypocrisy is that I love my coffee with milk.
Oh, I love my coffee too. And I love it with my soy milk. Quite honestly, it's not that bad. It's actually better in some cases.
Okay, I have a question. Is it more expensive to be vegan?
So it can be in the West, in some countries. It isn't in India because all you're doing is not eating ghee. It becomes very easy. And Indian Chinese food is all vegan.
And curd.
Yeah.
All our paneer, all our sweets.
No honey also, right?
Yes. I make tair, by the way. I use peanuts. I soak them up overnight. The next morning, I put them through the mixer and I make peanut milk and then I let it become tair.
Oh, same process happens, sir. Yeah?
Yeah, same thing.
And it's yummy. At his house, I had this more karamba.
Oh, with peanut milk.
And I was like,
really?
Wow, it was really yummy. I've eaten at Rudy's place of late a lot. I mean, before this whole pandemic hit. But really yummy food. I mean, there's no dearth of yumminess.
One quick question for Rudy. Rudy, when we talked about like activism and having the conversation about being pro-veganism, okay, in terms of, let's say, a human movement towards veganism, for example, like fossil fuels to alternative fuels, to recognizing globally there is a mass production system that is wrong in a kind of way and trying to correct it, is there a movement towards a substitution, or is it just that my personal choice, my personal choice?
So it is more of cottage industry, if you want to call it that. It's the my personal choice front that is going on. But there are countries leading the way, like Israel every year is increasing in percentage of vegans. On the other hand, they're killing Palestinians all over the place. So, you can always look at that. But
we shouldn't be laughing at it, but yeah, it was funny.
No, it's true.
And there are other countries, like my wife, as you know, is from Slovakia. So I go that side a lot. The Czech Republic is increasing the restaurants over there for vegans. I'm not even kidding. If you were on Swiggy in the Czech Republic, Sidhu, you would not be bitching about the choices and stuff. It's as simple as that.
Let's head to this Czech Republic.
Does Lydia have a sister?
It's not just there. It's Germany. There's places where it's coming up. But you bring up a good point, Arjun, because there isn't a concerted movement of humanity towards the goal. There are people talking about it, there are people fighting about it, there are people pissing other people off about it, but there doesn't seem to be an overwhelming awakening of conscience, and I don't know why.
In any case, you are seeing whatever it is, the shift it's not the same 10 years back, it wasn't the same 12. There is a huge increase towards this. No?
Yes.
That's what the point which I want to make. Maybe the humanitarian angle to it didn't work, which we were talking about, the animal husbandry, the whole slavery aspect of it. Nobody really cares because it's an animal at the end of the day, and nobody has that awakening which you have to look at it as a living sentient animal. But what if now we're starting to look at it as a global crisis?
That's actually converting more people.
Yes, that is what has started the new wave and the new drive towards this whole topic.
The idea of self-preservation.
Yes, because the whole Amazonian rainforest, 1 acre is being removed per second, and it's all towards animal husbandry, right? And we talked about this earlier where it was, where we mentioned about 660 gallons being used for just a quarter ounce burger, right? So A huge swimming pool is used for, just 20 burgers.
Yeah.
So that is drawing a lot more light to it, and probably maybe that's why people now are looking at veganism as a more sustainable future than the humanitarian angle to it.
Yeah. And look, I'll be honest, I don't care how they get there as long as they get there. At the end of the day, I would like very much for us to, when people say, but then, chickens and cows may cease to exist, I'd be like, honestly, it's better if they don't exist than if they exist as slaves. I'd rather be dead if my only two choices were being alive or being a slave.
They're not just being a slave, they're being raped every day.
Yeah, that too.
No, but we talked about the chickens and livestock like pork and beef, they're the commonly used thing. But what about our oceans? It's over-harvested. It's crazy. It's like you're a 7 billion population, people. And if you're going to start eating into your, reserves. Now, if you're eating the profits, right? Like, so if imagine the ocean is your certain capital and the amount of fish which comes out every year, you've got a certain amount of interest in it and you're eating just the interest, it's fine. We have eaten into our interest, we've eaten into our capital, and now we are in debt, literally, is what is happening to our oceans right now. And it's going to take like 100 years to even think about restoring what we've taken from it.
So Sheesh, there's actually, I had a shocking conversation with a 42-year-old adult. I stress on the 42-year-old adult part because there's a point here. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were talking and this guy suddenly says, it's okay to eat fish because they're not sentient. And it's like, wait a second, they have a central nervous system, they are sentient. It's as simple as that. A plant does not have a central nervous system. You can call it non-sentient. It's still a living thing, like Sidhu pointed out earlier. But it isn't a sentient being. It isn't a sentient person. And there's a difference there. And a large part of this comes down to how we are educated from a young age. Very likely that guy was taught by his parents that, no, it's okay, Mav, the fish don't feel pain, it's okay. So I've met tons of Brahmins who like strict vegetarian, except for fish. And I never quite understood the logic there.
Or chicken.
Boneless.
The eggs thing is again, if they could see how it works in a farm where eggs are harvested, how male chickens are basically thrown into a grinder when they're still alive, and female chickens are debeaked against a grinding wheel so that they don't hurt the guy, and then put back in a cage, and the ground up male chickens are then fed to the other hens that continue laying the eggs. If they could see that, they would no longer think eggs were vegetarian.
True. The grinding up and killing the chicken is considered as the acceptable form of killing them without too much suffering compared to suffocating them. I'm like, what the fuck? Imagine you see a fucking grinder and you're heading towards that. Insane, no? Insane. But that's where we stand. The hypocrisy of it is that, no?
I think the hypocrisy obviously is because we don't see it. If I had to kill for my meat every day, for example, if I need to slaughter, if I wanted a roast chicken, if I had to actually kill the chicken, dress it and then cut it and actually, then cooking is the easy part. If I'm not doing the hard part of actually culling it, and if I don't see it.
That's what I said at the start, yes.
No, but I'm saying there's a big difference in watching a video to doing it yourself.
Absolutely, Sid. I'll give you an example of this. I once went to the supermarket, and abroad, when you go to the supermarket and you pick up a fish, they don't kill it. They take it out of the aquarium and they put it in a packet and you take it back home. And you hope that it's dead. And I swear to God, I took it back home and I put it in the sink and I opened the packet. It was flip-floppeting a whole sink. And then I had to come to the realization that somebody has to kill the damn thing. It's not dying.
Or you have to wait for him to drown.
Yeah, and I couldn't kill the damn thing, so I just waited and waited and waited.
Dr. Sheesh, seriously, I mean,
taking life is damn difficult, Arjun. I know I can go in and I can cut a patient open, do all my stuff. That's mechanical for me because it's like fixing a patient up. Taking life is freaking difficult. And like what Sid said, if each one had to take the life before they had to eat it, half the people would be freaking vegetarian.
That's true. But I've gone and broken necks and skinned and killed and this and that. That is camping. Pheasants, chickens, yeah. But no, I get what you're saying. That's an interesting point, especially what you said about the West, because I remember like years back, okay? So after uni, I had my classmates come down from Australia. And they'd come down after years and we went to get chicken. These guys, they have never been to George Cooty's Chicken Kada, no? they've always gone to Coles, or, and they're going to George Kutty's chicken cutter, and they thought this was window dressing because the chickens are they're going pak, 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 and they're watching. Okay, very amusingly, this guy pulls out a chicken, twists it, cuts it, puts it in that bucket where it's thrashing.
Yeah.
They started screaming. Okay.
Yeah.
But so, Dr. Sheesh, you're right. If that process had to happen, I guess we would see you'd have hardcore buggers like me who would probably be like, yeah, let me get in there and just do it painlessly. But then I think more than 50% would probably just be off it. And not hardcore. It's not like every day I go out and just like, kill a chicken. Don't do stuff.
Who knows what's happening in Sarjapur? What chickens on the road?
There's a serial hunter, Arjun.
Why did the chicken cross the road to get away from Arjun?
Now we know.
No, large part of it, I think, also comes down to a point Ashish had made earlier when he said we are taught by the various religions that animals don't have souls. In my opinion, the most disgusting way to kill an animal is kosher or halal. It's the same thing. There's just the prayers are said in a different language. But basically, an animal that is completely sensible has its neck cut
And
open.
bleed out. Yeah.
And there's someone chanting prayers while this animal is dying. Now, I always have said, if there really were a God, would he really at that point in time be like, yeah, okay, you know what, do that to another creation of mine and be chanting those prayers and that makes me happy. As long as those prayers are said, I don't give a shit. I doubt it very much. And part of the problem in Hinduism too, we think Gomata because she gives us milk. Every religion has a different rationalization for the cruelty that we inflict on animals. And part of the problem is that rationalization that we are given. And the reason we are given that rationalization is because we are an animal species that has civilized, within quotes, over the last couple of 100,000 years. And the only way we could reconcile a lot of the evil that we do with our own consciences, because we do have consciences just like every other animal, was
Absolutely.
with this kind of nonsense.
Absolutely.
We needed this nonsense very much to reconcile. So that mullah who's chanting the prayers as that goat is bleeding out next to him believes that that goat goes to heaven and he is now doing something good in terms. He is not a bad guy who's like, yeah, let me be as evil as I can. That's not the attitude he approaches what he's doing with. He thinks he is doing the right thing. And the problem with all of this is that we are using these fairy tales very much to justify our evil.
Can't agree more.
Having said all this, now what's the future? Where do we go with this? What do you see as our future? Do you think that we're going to have substitutes for this? Do you think that we will be able to end our animal husbandry as well as, the everything dairy industry? Do you think we can do that?
Ashish, I believe that over the next 25 to 30 years, but this is just a belief, like very much like the fairy tales I was just criticizing, I believe that governments, as climate change gets progressively worse, and we find that the electric cars and the solar torchlights are just not doing enough to, stem the flow of the problem, going to start interfering very much with the plates of you and Sidhu and Arjun.
It's already started.
Yeah, and it's going to go on. Like in the UK now, Boris Johnson, in his Brexit speech given a few days ago, just before New Year's, actually said, no longer will we be participating in this brutal bleeding out of animals. No animals will be killed in the United Kingdom without being stunned first. That basically means no more kosher or halal. And France has already done it. So once that happens, you're going to see a buttload of more Jews and Muslims who are like, you know what, I'd rather be vegan.
But I recently saw something on Nas Daily, big social influencer. He was showing us something about how they're using bacteria to grow milk. They've got exact milk constituents being grown by bacteria, and now you can have your milk, have your curd, have whatever you want which is milk based, and it's just grown.
You can have your cake and eat it too.
Exactly, and just like meat.
Have you tasted the Beyond Meat?
No, I heard about the Beyond
It was
Meat.
the first time I tasted something that tasted like beef after school. It tasted just like real beef.
You've tried it?
Yeah, I tried it in the Czech Republic.
Oh wow.
Here's the thing. it's still lab-grown meat.
Okay.
And at some point, people are going to, as we start talking about this more.
The purists might have a problem with the flavor
Yeah.
and the taste and everything. But I'm saying if there is something which is a substitute which might not be as pure as what is it, Wagyu or Kobe or whatever.
So McDonald's has a Beyond Meat burger.
Oh, they do?
McDonald's
Oh, wow.
does the Beyond Meat burger. Yeah, it tasted great. It tasted like beef. It was beef, lab-grown beef. But here's the thing. That shouldn't be the aspiration, in my opinion, my humble opinion. The meat substitutes market will exist for people like you guys who say, fuck it all, dude. I love my meat. And yeah, there will be those people. But if a guy decides, to go vegan for ethical reasons and still craves Beyond Meat, because I'll be honest, when I decided, I snapped and was like, you know what, I don't want paneer, I don't want thair, I don't want to participate in this industry anymore. It was very simply, it was cognitive dissonance. The fact that I can still tell you the last time I had something with cheese on it shows that it affects my conscience when I do.
Correct.
It's cognitive dissonance. I may have been drunk and, okay, let me have that slice of pizza. But I still remember it like a couple of years later.
What is your problem with lab-grown meat? I don't understand that part.
I'm saying I don't have a problem with it at all. Ethically, no problem at all.
Okay.
I'm just saying in today's current climate, in a place like India where we don't get it that easily, you can get corn with QUORN. It's a kind of mushroom meat, a fungal meat kind of thing, which tastes delicious, by the way.
Is it?
There's now, Amazon is selling this egg replacement powder where you can basically make eggs with plants.
Interesting. Didn't know
Completely plant-based eggs. But that's where it becomes expensive to be a vegan, Sidhu.
That's now it makes sense.
That's my problem with that. The only problem with that is until it becomes comparative in price. I'll give you an example. The 250 gram of that egg thing costs $300. With that, you get the equivalent of 16 eggs. Now, nobody is going to pay $310 for 16 eggs, guess.
It's like 6 to 10 rupees for an egg now. And if you want an organic egg, it costs even more. It's like 20 to 30 bucks for an organic egg.
Okay, but that's still less. At $10, it's 160 rupees. It's not $310.
Correct. Yeah.
So I guess it's a lifestyle change if somebody chooses to do it, coupled with being a conscious decision. I mean, it shouldn't be something like which I'm trying to do, which is experimenting. I'm like, hey, what is this veganism all about? Unless it pricks the very soul of my existence, I don't think I will completely change. Yeah.
I do have a recommendation for people who say stuff like this. The easiest way to start is to do 2 vegan meals a day.
Okay.
For breakfast or for dinner, allow yourself whatever the hell you want.
Okay.
I have found in my limited experience of trying to guide people onto the path I'm on, that after a while they find that their conscience kicks in too much.
Right.
So it's self-sustaining. The process takes care of itself.
Yeah, I believe it does. Of course, like Ashish pointed out at the start, there are a buttload of people who 6 months later are like, Macha, I became too weak, I tore my shoulder, my bones I needed vitamin B12. But here's the truth. The only reason beef has B12 is because we inject cows with B12 before we slaughter them. Not because they're naturally full of B12.
I can't handle the vegans who have a vegan chicken burger and a vegan beef burger or a vegan pork burger. What the hell is a vegan pork burger and beef burger and thing? If your whole idea is to go vegan, go vegan. Why don't you name
Absolutely,
food
exactly.
after shit like that?
You come to my previous point about the fake meats and all that.
Yeah.
I tried the Beyond Beef burger because I was curious. And because I had chili beef, I knew what beef tasted like. I wanted to taste it and see if it reminded me of that. It did. That being said, I was there for 5 days. I had it once and I never did again.
I just think that they should call it what it is. I mean, why do they have to call it a beef or a chicken or this or that? Just call it what it is. You've created something new, call it that. That's all. And if people like it for what it is and it's a substitute for beef and they don't want to eat beef or they don't want to eat chicken and they want to eat pork, they can eat that.
That, I believe, is very much a marketing thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be easier to get people to adopt that if you use those words.
Correct.
No, definitely. If somebody like me, I would rather do that than turn completely vegan. Because it's just more convenient and I don't need to have a leap of faith to change my lifestyle around completely, which honestly is a lot of hard work. And people would want to take the path of least resistance, especially lazy people like me.
Yeah, you're right.
Even though I'm curious, I don't think I will ever be a vegan for a very long time. But Rudy, I will take you up on it. I will probably pick your brains a little more and probably learn a little more. Probably
Sure.
2 meals a day. Let's try that. I'm open to that.
So Joaquin Phoenix about 3 years ago started this concept of Veganuary, where basically he asked that just the month of January, everyone go vegan. And according to PETA, I don't know how accurate it is, there's a 8 to 10% retention rate.
Interesting. Not bad.
Post Veganuary. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm not sure how accurate that is because PETA obviously wants everyone to go vegan. So it sounds better when you say, you know what? If 100 people do it, 10 people don't want to do it again. It sounds good. But so I can't vouch for how accurate.
But even if one person does it, it's good enough.
Here's the thing. You guys knew me before. I was in school. I was not a very healthy guy and all that. Then I decided I wanted to be healthy and I became as skinny as a stick.
Correct.
When I went vegan, I found so much strength and energy that I loved it. And look at me now. I mean, okay, sorry, it's a podcast, but
No, we can vouch for him. This is a video call. Guy is massive.
yeah.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Exactly. He's completely bulked up and an absolute bodybuilder, vegan bodybuilder.
The truth is, I found good health when I went vegan. I found cutting out the dairy and cutting out the eggs and all that, I was less sluggish. I was more energetic. The problem with me saying that, though, is that different people react in different ways to different things, as the doctor will tell us. So it worked out that way for me, and possibly because Brahmin heritage, thousands of years of vegetarianism, it was me cutting out the one bad component, which was dairy. Maybe, right? So it's hard to say, but I do believe that a lot of people, when they feel themselves getting stronger, once they go off the fatty foods, will actually find themselves enjoy it more. At least I think so.
Thank you so much, Rudy. It was absolute eye-opener, as well as I'm tempted to try out to be at least
Go for the Veganuary challenge. It's only the 11th.
We are in January and I should try this week January or something. I will pick your brains on it and see how we can do. And all our listeners, we would love to hear your thoughts and views on veganism, vegetarianism, the whole conundrum or mental battle between vegetarian, non-vegetarian, and the ethics and all of it. And if you have any questions for Mr. Rudra Krishna, who's with us today, please do comment or ask the questions on Twitter or Facebook or even Instagram. As well as on the 17th of January, we are having a Facebook live session with Rudra as well as the whole odd couple. So this is going to be our first Facebook live session. So we will see you guys there. So like, subscribe, share, and thank you so much, Rudra. Once
Hey,
again
Rudy, awesome.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Rudy.
Thank you,
Thanks,
man.
guys. It was lots of fun. Bye.
See you on the other side. Bye-bye.